The email sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. Congratulations on your promotion. Only it wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to my cousin Sadie. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen, the words blurring before my eyes. I'm Fiona, and I've spent the last 5 years climbing the corporate ladder at Mitchell and Associates, putting in 60-hour weeks and sacrificing my personal life for this moment. A moment that was just stolen from me. Did you hear the news? Annabelle poked her head over our shared cubicle wall. Sadie got the regional director position. That's impossible, I muttered, shuffling through the papers on my desk. Where are my quarterly reports? The ones I finished last night. Something wasn't right. I'd left them neatly stacked on my desk before heading home, but now they were scattered, and some pages looked different. Fiona, Sadie's voice rang across the office. She practically floated toward me in her designer suit, her perfect smile gleaming. Isn't this amazing? I can't wait to tell Aunt Carmen. My stomach churned. Of course, she couldn't wait to tell my mother, her biggest cheerleader. Congratulations, I managed, the word tasting like acid. I'm just confused about… Mac wants to see you, she interrupted, already turning away. Something about your quarterly reports having some errors? The walk to Mac's office felt like a death march. He sat behind his desk, my reports spread out before him, his expression grim. Fiona, sit down. He gestured to the chair. We need to discuss these discrepancies. Discrepancies? I leaned forward, scanning the numbers. These weren't my figures. Someone had changed them, made them look inconsistent, unreliable. These aren't my original reports, Mac. I can prove it. I have backup copies on my… I've already made my decision about the promotion, he cut in. Sadie's numbers were solid. Yours? He shook his head. I expected better from you. That evening, I drove to my parents' house for our weekly family dinner, my mind still reeling. The scene that greeted me was exactly what I'd expected, a celebration for Sadie. There's my successful girl. My mother Carmen embraced Sadie, while my father Jonathan stood back, offering a weak smile in my direction. I just can't believe how everything fell into place, Sadie gushed, raising her wine glass. The numbers just spoke for themselves. I couldn't stay silent anymore. They weren't your numbers to speak for. The room fell quiet. My mother's face hardened. Fiona, don't start this again. Every time Sadie achieves something, you have to make it about yourself. Carmen, my father warned softly, but she waved him off. No, Jonathan, she needs to hear this. Sadie worked hard for this promotion. Just because you're jealous… Jealous? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Those reports were mine. Someone tampered with them, and I think we all know who… That's enough. My mother slammed her hand on the table. Sadie has always been more dedicated, more focused. Maybe if you spent less time making excuses and more time working. I saw the original reports on my desk last night, I said, my voice shaking. This morning they were different. Sadie was the only other person with access to my office after hours. Sadie's face remained perfectly composed. Are you actually accusing me of sabotage? That's pathetic, even for you, Fiona. I looked around the table, at my mother's disapproving glare, my father's averted eyes, and Sadie's smug smile. Years of family dynamics crystallized in that moment. Sadie, the golden child who could do no wrong. Me, the jealous cousin who never quite measured up. You're right, I said quietly, standing up. This is pathetic, but not for the reason you think. As I walked out, I heard my mother calling after me, but I didn't turn back. In my car, I pulled out my phone and called Annabelle. I need your help, I said as soon as she answered. I'm going to prove what really happened, and I need someone I can trust. I'm in, she replied without hesitation. Sebastian mentioned something weird about the security footage from last night. Want me to ask him about it? A spark of hope ignited in my chest. Yes, tell him to keep it quiet, but I need to see that footage. As I drove home, my resolve hardened. Sadie might have won this round, backed by years of family favoritism and her own manipulative charm. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd left evidence, and I was going to find it. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The security footage from that night is missing. Sebastian's words hit me like a punch to the gut. We were huddled in the break room early morning, before most people arrived at the office. Missing? I gripped my coffee cup tighter. How convenient. Not all of it. He glanced around before lowering his voice. I managed the backup server, remember? Someone deleted the main files, but they didn't know about the cloud backup. It just takes time to retrieve. Annabelle joined us, setting down her laptop. I've been doing some digging. Guess who requested after-hours access that night? Sadie, I answered automatically. Bingo. And get this, she told security it was to help you with your reports. My mind flashed back to countless childhood memories. Sadie helping me with my science project, only to present it as her own the next day. Sadie helping me practice for the school play, then convincing the teacher I was too nervous to perform. Classic Sadie, I muttered. Always the helpful cousin. You need to document everything, Sebastian advised. Every inconsistency, every changed number. I'll work on recovering that footage. Back at my desk, I started comparing the tampered reports with my backup copies. The changes were subtle but devastating, just enough to make me look incompetent without raising immediate suspicion. A new email popped up. Team lunch to celebrate our new regional director. You're not going, are you? Annabelle whispered from her cubicle. Watch me. The restaurant was packed with colleagues congratulating Sadie. I sat quietly, observing. Then I noticed something. She kept checking her phone, looking increasingly anxious. Everything okay, Sadie? I asked loudly enough for others to hear. You seem distracted. She plastered on her signature smile. Just some emails about the transition. Speaking of which, Fiona, I'll need those client files from the Peterson account. Of course, I'll forward you the original versions I saved. Her fork clattered against her plate. The current versions are fine. Oh, but I always keep detailed backups. Wouldn't want any discrepancies. Later that afternoon, my mother called. Sadie's upset. She says you're making things difficult at work. Mom, not now. She worked hard for this promotion, Fiona. Why can't you just be happy for her? I laughed bitterly. Like you were happy for me when I graduated top of my class. Oh, wait, you were too busy throwing Sadie a party for making the dean's list. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is that you've never once taken my side. Not when Sadie took credit for my work in high school. Not when she accidentally spilled coffee on my college application essays, and not now. You're being ridiculous. Sadie would never. Check your email, Mom. I just sent you something interesting. I hung up and opened my inbox, where Sebastian had just sent me a recovered email thread. My hands shook as I read it. From Sadie to external client. Subject, quarterly performance review. The numbers need to be adjusted before tomorrow's review. I'll handle Fiona's reports personally. She won't suspect anything until it's too late. Got you, I whispered, forwarding the email to my personal account. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. Your mother showed me the email. We need to talk. I replied, Now you want to talk? After years of watching Sadie tear me down while you stood by. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have said something sooner. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away as Annabelle approached my desk. Security confirmed Sadie was here until 11 p.m. that night, she reported. And Sebastian's almost done recovering the footage. Perfect. But we need more. I pulled up the company's shared drive. Help me go through every document Sadie's touched in the last month. She's gotten sloppy. There have to be more breadcrumbs. What about your family? Your mum's email was pretty harsh. I thought about my father's text, about my mother's unwavering defense of Sadie, about years of being second best. Family should stand for truth, I said, starting to type. And it's time everyone saw the truth about Sadie. As we worked, I received another email, this time from Mac's assistant, scheduling a meeting for next week. Subject line, concerns regarding recent promotion decision. It's working, Annabelle whispered excitedly. I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. Sadie thinks she won because she's always won. But this time, I'm not that little girl who'll stay quiet to keep the peace. The truth was coming, and not even my family's golden child could stop it. Sebastian's office felt like a sanctuary compared to the tension-filled main floor. He closed the door behind us and pulled up a chair. Before we go through the evidence, he said, I need to tell you something. 10 years ago, I was in your position. I leaned forward. What do you mean? A colleague, someone I trusted, doctored my reports to get ahead. I had proof, but I hesitated. Wanted to keep the peace, avoid drama. He rubbed his temples. By the time I finally spoke up, they'd already been promoted to partner at another firm. My reputation never fully recovered. What happened to them? Last I heard, they're a CEO somewhere. That's why you can't wait, Fiona. People like that, they keep climbing, stepping on others along the way. A knock interrupted us. Sadie stood in the doorway, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Sorry to interrupt, but Mum's trying to reach you, Fiona. She says you're not answering her calls. I'm in a meeting. Family should come first, don't you think? Her voice dripped with fake concern. Everyone's worried about you. This obsession with my promotion isn't healthy. Sebastian stood up. I believe Fiona said she's in a meeting. Sadie's eyes narrowed slightly. Of course, just trying to help. After she left, I pulled out my phone. 6 missed calls from my mother. As I stared at the screen, a text from my father appeared. Having dinner with your mother tonight. Just us. Please come. Go, Sebastian advised. Keep them talking while I finish recovering the footage. And Fiona, remember, you're not alone this time. The restaurant was quiet, tucked away from the busier parts of town. My parents were already seated when I arrived. Mom looked tired, Dad uncomfortable. You're tearing this family apart, Mom started before I'd even sat down. I'm tearing it apart, not Sadie, who literally committed fraud. You have no proof. Actually, my father interrupted, we should listen to her, Carmen. Mom's head snapped toward him. Jonathan, no, enough. His voice was firmer than I'd heard in years. Remember when Fiona's art portfolio disappeared before college applications? Or when her internship recommendation letter mysteriously never arrived? Those were accidents. Were they? Because I found that letter, Carmen, in Sadie's desk drawer when I was helping her move apartments. I said nothing, convinced myself it was a mistake. I won't make that mistake again. My phone buzzed. A message from Sebastian. Footage recovered. You need to see this now. I have to go. I stood up, then paused. Dad, thank you. Back at the office, Sebastian, Annabelle, and I huddled around his computer. The security footage played silently. Sadie entering my office at 10:23 p.m., spending nearly an hour at my computer, then carefully rearranging the papers on my desk. There's more, Annabelle said, pulling up emails. Look at these timestamps. She's been planning this for weeks, changing small details in reports, creating a pattern of errors in your work. We should take this to HR, Sebastian suggested. No, I said firmly. Mac needs to see this first. He's the one she fooled, and he's the one who needs to make this right. My phone buzzed again. Sadie, I know what you're doing, her text read. Don't forget who the family always believes. Don't forget who always wins. I showed the others. She's getting nervous. Good, Annabelle said. Let her sweat. Sebastian nodded. I've seen this before. When people like Sadie feel cornered, they make mistakes. Big ones. As if on cue, my email pinged. Sadie had just sent a company-wide message about team restructuring, and my name was on the list of people being moved to a different department. She's trying to get rid of you before everything comes out, Annabelle gasped. I smiled. No, this is perfect. She just proved she's abusing her new position. Sebastian, can you... Already downloading a copy for evidence, he confirmed. Walking to my car that evening, I spotted Sadie waiting in the parking lot. Let's talk, she said. Family to family. Nothing left to talk about. Really? Because I just got off the phone with Aunt Carmen. She's heartbroken, you know. Keeps saying she doesn't understand why you're doing this to me. To her. I stepped closer. You know what I don't understand, Sadie? Why you never thought I'd fight back. Because you never have before, she smirked. Face it, cousin, you don't have what it takes. Watch me. As I drove home, my father's words echoed in my mind. For the first time, someone in my family had chosen truth over peace, justice over convenience. Tomorrow, Mac would see the evidence. Tomorrow, everything would change. And Sadie? She was about to learn that some victories come at a price. Mac's face grew increasingly pale as he watched the security footage. The conference room felt impossibly quiet, except for the soft hum of the laptop. Stop the video, he said, rubbing his temples. I've seen enough. I placed the stack of evidence on his desk, the altered reports, the email threads, the timestamps of Sadie's after-hours access. There's more. Fiona. He leaned back in his chair. This is serious. Corporate fraud, document tampering. Career assassination, I added. Don't forget that part. A knock at the door made us both jump. Sadie stood there, perfect smile in place. Oh, I didn't realize you were in a meeting. I just needed to discuss the department restructuring. Sit down, Mac ordered, his voice sharp. Now. Her smile faltered. I have a client call. Sit down. As she took a seat, I noticed her hands trembling slightly. Mac turned the laptop toward her. Care to explain this? The footage played again. Sadie's face remained composed, but a muscle twitched in her jaw. That could be anyone. The quality isn't... Your security badge log confirms it was you, I interrupted, along with these emails you sent from my computer that night. Mac, she turned to him, eyes wide and pleading. This is clearly a misunderstanding. Fiona's just upset about... About what? I challenged. About you systematically sabotaging my work? About you lying to get a promotion you didn't earn? My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Sadie's not answering her phone. What have you done? Before I could respond, another message came through from my father. Stay strong. Truth matters. Mac cleared his throat. This requires a formal investigation. HR will need to be involved. In the meantime, Sadie, you're suspended pending. You can't do this. She stood up, her carefully crafted facade cracking. Do you know who my father is? Who my family knows? Are you threatening me? Mac's voice was dangerously quiet. I'm reminding you that actions have consequences, she spat, then turned to me. And you. You really think this will fix anything? That they'll ever pick you over me? This isn't about being picked, Sadie. It's about right and wrong. She laughed, the sound brittle. Right and wrong? In business? God, you're still so naive. Security will escort you out, Mac said, reaching for his phone. Your company access is revoked effective immediately. As two security guards appeared at the door, Sadie straightened her jacket. This isn't over, Fiona. Family never is. After she left, Mac turned to me. I owe you an apology. I should have looked more closely at those reports. Yes, you should have. The promotion. Once the investigation is complete... I don't want it handed to me, I cut in. I want to earn it. Properly this time. He nodded slowly. The board meets next week. Present your case. Show them what you showed me today. Walking back to my desk, I found Annabelle and Sebastian waiting. Well? Annabelle demanded. She's suspended. Investigation pending. Sebastian squeezed my shoulder. It's not over yet. People like Sadie, they always have a backup plan. My phone buzzed again. An incoming call from my mother. This time I answered. How could you? She sobbed. She's family. That's why it hurts so much, Mom. Because she's family, and she did this anyway. You've ruined everything. The family will never be the same. Good, I said quietly. Maybe it shouldn't be. I hung up as another email arrived, from an address I didn't recognize. Inside was a single image, my original quarterly reports, the one Sadie had altered, with a note attached. Insurance policy. Meet me tonight if you want these back. S. She's bluffing, Annabelle said, reading over my shoulder. You already have proof. But she doesn't know that, Sebastian pointed out. She's desperate. I forwarded the email to Mac, then replied to Sadie. Name the time and place. You're not really going? Annabelle asked. Of course I am, because this time, I'm not just fighting for a promotion. I gathered my things, determination settling over me like armor. I'm fighting for every person who's ever been silenced by someone like her. As I left the office, my father called. Your mother told me what happened. Are you okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. Dad, thank you for believing me. I should have believed you years ago. Be careful, sweetheart. Sadie's never lost before. She won't go down easily. I thought of the evidence safely backed up on multiple servers, of the security footage, of years of suppressed truth finally coming to light. That's okay, I said. Neither will I. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Sadie walked in, her designer heels clicking against the floor. She slid into the booth across from me, placing a manila envelope between us. I always wondered when you'd finally grow a backbone, she said, stirring her latte. Took you long enough. Where are the original reports? She tapped the envelope. Right here, but before you get too excited, let's talk about how this ends. It ends with the truth coming out. The truth? She leaned forward. The truth is, you're nothing without this family's support. Who do you think funded your college education? Who got you the interview at Mitchell & Associates in the first place? That doesn't give you the right to... To what? Take what I deserve. Face it, Fiona. I've always been better at this game than you. My phone buzzed beneath the table, a text from Sebastian. Security cameras in place. Everything's being recorded. You know what's funny, Sadie? I took a sip of my coffee. You're so busy playing games, you never noticed you'd already lost. Her smile faltered. What are you talking about? Check your work email. Oh wait, you can't, because you're suspended pending a fraud investigation. A temporary setback. The board meets next week. They've seen everything. The security footage, the altered documents, your threatening emails, everything. She grabbed the envelope, but I was faster, snatching it away. Inside were blank papers. Really? I raised an eyebrow. That's amateur, even for you. You little... She stood up abruptly, her coffee spilling. You have no idea what you've done. This family will never forgive you. Maybe it's time this family learned about consequences. The next morning, the office was buzzing with whispers. Annabelle rushed to my desk as soon as I arrived. HR sent out an email. They're launching a full investigation into all of Sadie's past projects. It gets better, Sebastian joined us. 3 other employees have come forward with similar stories. Turns out Sadie's been playing this game for years. My phone rang, my mother again. I put it on speaker. The family is gathering for dinner tonight, she said, her voice tight. Your father insists you come. Mom, just come, Fiona, please. The family home felt different that evening. Smaller somehow. Aunts, uncles, and cousins sat around the dining table, the atmosphere thick with tension. Before we start, my father stood up, I have something to say. For years, we've enabled behavior that we shouldn't have. We chose comfort over truth, favoritism over fairness. Jonathan, my aunt tried to interrupt, but he continued. No, we failed Fiona. We failed as a family. But more importantly, we failed ourselves by accepting dishonesty as normal. This is ridiculous, one of my uncles scoffed. Sadie made a mistake. A mistake? I pulled out my phone, playing the security footage. This was calculated, deliberate, and not the first time. The room fell silent as they watched Sadie methodically destroying my work. When it ended, my mother's hands were shaking. Why? She whispered. Sadie, why would you do this? Because she could, I answered. Because she always got away with it. Because this family taught her she was untouchable. You've destroyed her career, another aunt accused. No, my father's voice was firm. She destroyed it herself. And it's time we stopped making excuses for bad behavior just because it comes from family. My phone buzzed. An email from Mac. Board meeting moved up. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring your complete presentation. I have to go. I stood up. But let me be clear. This isn't about revenge. It's about justice. And maybe, just maybe, it's about this family finally facing the truth. As I left, my mother followed me to the door. I didn't want to believe it. All these years I defended her because admitting the truth meant admitting I'd been wrong, that I'd hurt you. Mum, no, let me finish. I'm sorry, Fiona. I'm so sorry. In the car, texts flooded in from various family members, some supportive, others angry. But one stood out from my father. Proud of you, sweetheart. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought at home. Sebastian called as I pulled into my driveway. Everything ready for tomorrow? Almost. How's the office? Chaos. 3 more people came forward about Sadie. This is bigger than we thought. I thought about the board meeting tomorrow, about the years of deception finally coming to light, about a family forced to confront its own toxic patterns. Good, I said. It's time for change. Real change. Because sometimes the truth doesn't just set you free, it forces everyone around you to face their own reflections in the mirror. The boardroom felt colder than usual as I set up my presentation. 8 pairs of eyes watched me. The board members, Mac, and surprisingly my father, who'd been invited as a company investor. Before we begin, the board chairman spoke, we should note that Sadie has submitted her resignation. Resignation? I looked at Mac. He nodded grimly. Along with some concerning allegations about workplace harassment, she's claiming you orchestrated a campaign against her. A familiar surge of anger rose in my chest, but I took a deep breath. Then let's start with this. I played the security footage, then the recovered emails, then testimonies from 3 other employees, their faces blurred, but their stories clear, all victims of Sadie's manipulations. This isn't just about my promotion, I explained. It's about a pattern of behavior that's gone unchecked for years. Ms. Wolfe, one board member leaned forward. Why didn't these other employees come forward sooner? Because people like Sadie count on silence, I replied. They count on others being too afraid, too uncertain, or too powerless to speak up. My phone buzzed. A text from Annabelle. Sadie's in the building. Security's tracking her. As if on cue, the boardroom door burst open. Sadie strode in, followed by security guards. I have a right to defend myself, she announced. This is a closed meeting, the chairman started, but Sadie cut him off. Really? Then why is Uncle Jonathan here? She turned to my father. Did Fiona tell you how she hacked my computer, how she planted evidence? That's enough, Max stood up. No, let her speak, I said quietly. Let everyone see exactly who she is. Sadie's composure cracked. You think you're so clever, don't you? Playing the victim, turning everyone against me. But they all know you're just jealous, just like you've always been. Jealous? I pulled up another email on the screen, one I'd been saving. Is that why you wrote this to HR 3 weeks ago, claiming I was emotionally unstable and unfit for promotion? The board members murmured as they read the email. Sadie's face paled. Where did you get that? From me, Sebastian stepped into the room. As head of IT security, I monitor all suspicious email activity, including emails sent using stolen login credentials. You can't prove... Actually, he interrupted, I can. Every login, every altered document, every deleted file, it's all logged. Would you like me to show them? My father stood up. Sadie, stop, it's over. Uncle Jonathan, please. No. His voice was firm. You didn't just hurt Fiona. You hurt everyone who trusted you. Everyone who believed in you. The chairman cleared his throat. I think we've seen enough. Security will escort Ms. Sadie out, and... He turned to me. We'll need to discuss your role in the company going forward. As security led Sadie away, she turned back. This isn't justice, Fiona. This is revenge. No, I replied. This is karma. After the meeting, my father hugged me tightly. Your mother wants to talk. Really talk this time. I know. But first, I gestured to the boardroom where Mac was waiting with several board members. Go, he smiled. They'll make the right decision this time. In the elevator, my phone lit up with messages. Annabelle. Office is going crazy. Everyone's talking. Sebastian. HR wants to implement new anti-fraud measures. They want your input. And finally, my mother. I found Sadie's old diary. You need to see this. The doors opened, and I found myself face to face with Sadie's father, my Uncle Robert. You've destroyed my daughter's career, he said coldly. No, I met his gaze. She destroyed it herself. The only difference is that this time, someone was brave enough to tell the truth. He stepped aside, letting me pass. As I walked away, I heard him say quietly, maybe we all failed them. Back at my desk, I found a note from Mac. Board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring your ideas for departmental restructuring. We need someone who understands the importance of integrity. Annabelle peeked over the cubicle. So, what happened? Justice happened, I smiled. And maybe something more important. What's that? I thought about Sadie's face as her carefully constructed world crumbled, about my mother's text, about my father standing up for the truth. Change, I said. Real, lasting change. My phone buzzed one last time. An email from HR. New position opening, Director of Corporate Integrity and Ethics. Sometimes, I realized, victory isn't just about winning. It's about making sure nobody else has to fight the same battle again. She kept detailed records of everything, my mother said, spreading old notebooks across her kitchen table. Every manipulation, every lie, like she was proud of it. I picked up one of Sadie's diaries, dated 3 years ago. Fiona's too trusting. It makes everything so easy. I found these while cleaning out the guest room. Mom's hands trembled. I should have seen it. All those times you tried to tell me. A knock at the door interrupted us. Sebastian and Annabelle stood there, looking grave. You need to see this. Sebastian held up his tablet. Sadie's gone public. The local business news website displayed the headline, Corporate Whistleblower Claims Family Conspiracy in Major Company Scandal. She's trying to spin it, Annabelle said, making herself look like the victim. My phone rang. Mac. Get to the office, now. The media's already calling. The office was chaos. Reporters crowded the lobby, and my email inbox was flooded with interview requests. She's given interviews to 3 different outlets, Mac said in the emergency meeting, claiming we're covering up corporate fraud, that you and your father conspired to frame her. We have proof, which is why, he continued, we're holding a press conference. Today. You need to tell your story, Fiona. All of it. Sebastian raised his hand. I've compiled everything. Security logs, email trails, witness statements. It's bulletproof. Good, Mac nodded. Because the board wants full transparency. No more secrets. As we prepared for the press conference, my father arrived with more of Sadie's diaries. There's something else, he said quietly. Something your mother found. He handed me a letter, my college recommendation, the one that had mysteriously disappeared. But this version had notes in Sadie's handwriting. Too risky. She might actually succeed. The press conference room was packed. Cameras flashed as I took my place at the podium, Mac and the board members seated behind me. My name is Fiona, I began, and this is a story about truth. I laid out everything, the altered reports, the stolen documents, the years of manipulation. Then I held up Sadie's diaries. These detail years of calculated deception, not just against me, but against anyone she saw as competition. A reporter raised his hand. Your cousin claims you fabricated evidence to steal her position. The evidence speaks for itself. I gestured to Sebastian, who projected the security footage onto the screen. But this isn't just about one position. It's about corporate culture, about what we accept as normal. Another reporter. Is it true your father's company investments influenced the investigation? My father, I smiled slightly, taught me that integrity matters more than success, something my cousin never learned. The doors burst open. Sadie strode in, followed by security guards. You want to talk about integrity? She shouted. Let's talk about how you've always been jealous, how you've always tried to compete. Compete? I held up her diary. Like when you sabotaged my college application, or when you took credit for Sarah's project last year, or Michael's client portfolio. Sarah and Michael, sitting in the audience, stood up. Others followed, more victims of Sadie's manipulations, finally ready to speak. You're all lying, Sadie's voice cracked. This is a conspiracy. No, my mother's voice rang out from the back. She walked forward, more diaries in her arms. The only conspiracy was our silence, our refusal to see what was right in front of us. Security finally managed to remove Sadie, her threats echoing down the hallway. The room erupted with questions, but Mac stepped forward. Mitchell and Associates is implementing new anti-fraud measures, he announced, starting with our new Director of Corporate Integrity and Ethics. He turned to me. If you'll accept the position. Later, in my office, Annabelle brought coffee. So, Director, what's next? Change, I said, looking at the pile of emails from employees finally ready to share their stories. Real change. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. Your mother's with Sadie. She's finally agreed to get help. Another message followed. This one from Sebastian. HR wants to start the integrity training program next week. Ready to make history? The sun was setting as I packed up my desk. Not to move to a new office, but to keep the one I had. Because leadership isn't about corner offices or titles. You know, Annabelle said as we left, you could have destroyed her completely, published those diaries, pressed charges. That's what she would have done, I replied. But this was never about destruction. It was about construction, building something better. Outside, reporters were still waiting. But this time, I was ready. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's creating change that makes sure no one else has to go through what you did. And that's a victory worth fighting for. The autumn breeze rustled through the courtyard as employees gathered for Mitchell and Associates' first Ethics and Integrity Summit. I stood at the podium, looking out at familiar and new faces alike. When I first started here, I began, someone told me that business was about winning at any cost. Today, we're proving them wrong. In the front row, Sebastian and Annabelle smiled encouragingly. Beside them sat my parents, my father's hand clasped tightly in my mother's. Our new mentorship program has already paired 30 junior employees with senior advisors, I continued, and our anonymous reporting system has given voice to those who might otherwise stay silent. My phone buzzed quietly, a message from my mother. Sadie's out of therapy. She's asking to see you. I pushed the thought aside and focused on the crowd. But numbers and systems aren't enough. Real change happens through people, through choices, through courage, a voice finished. I looked up to see Sarah, one of Sadie's former victims, standing. Like you showed us. Others stood too. Michael, Amanda, James, all people who'd come forward after the scandal broke. All finding their voices again. After the summit, Sebastian caught up with me in the hallway. HR reports are in. Workplace satisfaction up 40%. Incident reports down 65%. And the anonymous tip line. Mostly minor stuff now. People feel safe reporting issues before they become problems. My father approached, pride evident in his eyes. The board's implementing your program company-wide. Other firms are asking about it too. It's not my program, I corrected. It belongs to everyone who's ever been silenced. Speaking of which, my mother joined us. We need to talk about Sadie. We gathered in my office. My parents, Sebastian and Annabelle. The same people who'd stood by me through everything. She's different, Mum said softly. The therapy, it helped her see things clearly. She's written you a letter, Dad added, placing an envelope on my desk. I opened it slowly, reading aloud. Dear Fiona, I spent years seeing you as competition instead of family. I convinced myself that my success required your failure. I was wrong. The hardest part isn't admitting what I did, it's realizing who I became. She's asking to make amends, Mom explained, starting with the people she hurt. Including you, Dad added. My phone lit up, Mac requesting my presence in the boardroom. When I arrived, the scene stopped me cold. Sadie stood there, looking smaller somehow, more human. I'd like to make a formal statement, she said, her voice lacking its old arrogance. About everything I did, every person I hurt. No spin, no excuses. Why now? I asked. Because healing can't happen without truth, she replied, echoing words from my summit speech. You taught me that. The statement took hours. Sadie detailed every manipulation, every lie, every person she'd wronged. The board recorded everything, ensuring accountability. Afterward, in the elevator, she turned to me. I don't expect forgiveness. Good, I said, because this isn't about forgiveness. It's about growth. Back in my office, Annabelle was waiting with Sebastian. The mentorship applications doubled after your speech, she reported. People want to be part of this. Part of what? Change, Sebastian smiled. Real change. My phone buzzed, a message from Sarah. Remember when you said one voice could start a movement? You were right. I looked out my window at the office below, where people worked together openly, honestly, where junior employees felt safe approaching seniors, where success meant lifting others up, not pushing them down. You know, my father said from the doorway, your mother and I were talking about family dinners. Dad, no, hear me out. We want to start over. Do it right this time. Including Sadie, if you're willing. I thought about Sadie's letter, about therapy, about growth. Baby steps, I said finally. That's all anyone can ask. He smiled. Sebastian knocked, holding up his tablet. First quarterly report under the new system. Want to see? The numbers told a story, not just of profit and loss, but of people finding their voices, of integrity becoming standard, of change rippling outward. We did it, Annabelle whispered. No, I corrected, watching my colleagues below, seeing the future we were building together. We're doing it. Every day, every choice, every voice that speaks up instead of staying silent. Because sometimes victory isn't a single moment. It's not about winning or losing, revenge or redemption. Sometimes victory is the slow, steady work of building something better, not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after. And that work, it never really ends. It just gets stronger, one truth at a time.